Hey, welcome. This is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. You can find me at the scienceoffantasyfootball.com website. I'm on the podcast with my partner in crime, D Mike. Check us out. We also have the Data Lab podcast. All my video lessons are there. Other articles. D Mike has his process and materials and foundational articles as well, so you need to check that out. I think since lesson 142, I've been on the trail of target research and been trying to answer some questions. One is the vacated target question. What happens, right? There's a lot of speculation, guesswork, I don't know where people come up with their ideas, hopes, dreams. I don't know. So, as a scientist, as somebody who likes to follow the data, follow the metrics, I started doing some research, and this, what you're seeing, is my journey. I have not finished this research. This is in progress. And so I wanted to look at and get some baselines about changes in targets year to year, team to team, position by position. What's a normal change, right? Because if you don't understand normality, right, this is reference class forecasting concept that you can see my lesson on. If you don't understand that, then what does it mean, vacated targets? What's that number? Is that 20 targets? Somebody retires and they had 20 targets last year. Is that now vacated targets? 50 targets, 100 targets? In other words, nobody knows. It's a big problem. It's the expert problem, and I did a diatribe on that. We have no experts. There's no process to become a scientist in the fantasy informatics, right? When we have that degree and that 8 year or so process, longer, and we have a society and we have published journals, we have peer review, I think only then can things like definitions be established. And I don't see that in the futures. I mean, I hope that, but it's not there. Part of it is there's no drive because the people that would be impacted would not be able to take that journey to become data, fantasy sports, informatic scholars, right? They're just, people off the street. I don't know where these people come from, and they're everywhere, and they pop up, and here I am. And if you've got a mouthpiece on social media, there you go. And I guess if you do it long enough, people think you're an expert, but that is not an expert in the sense from a scientific point of view here. So, and you're saying, do I? No, I'm not. Okay. I am close because I've done a lot of data analysis as a biologist. I have my PhD in microbiology and immunology. I'm a full biology professor at a university. I've been publishing articles, trained graduate students, got, grants, did talks, I teach. It's the closest you can get that I've seen. So if there are engineers, MDs, data science people that are tangential, they're as close as I think we're going to get out here. People that, business people, people who are investors, certainly anybody that has a science or engineering or medical data science degree, computer science, they would be close, but they are not, myself included, have not spent 8 to 10 years or more of their life focused on, 24/7 fantasy sports informatics. It just, there is no degree, there's no way. Maybe in the future, but not now. So that's my diatribe a little bit. So you're seeing how I approach research, and was gathering targets, and I arbitrarily chose 2013 till last year. Okay, 9 years. I figured I like to do odd years because, a 5 to 4, there's 9 years, that can break a tie. So it's always best never to have an even number of samples. I always want an odd number of samples just in case you have to break a tie. And there's more to it than that. But anyway, so along the way, I'm developing and getting this information. And so this is lesson 146. And I started looking team by team, looking at targets in the running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, the totals from the 2013-21. What are, changes that are occurring? What's the distribution of targets? How does that line up with what the current ADPs are? What's a tabular format and what's a visual format of this data? And I think that's important to, again, understand team by team, because I think, this is hypothesis, I'm not there yet, I think it's going to be maybe team specific what happens if a major player on a team retires or is traded or leaves or whatnot and changes, right? They're not there to get the targets anymore. I think it may be team specific, and it could be coaching, and it may not be predictable even. So I think there's a lot of guesswork, like I said, hopes, dreams. So I'm wanted to just kind of look at each team and kind of have a sense for what is the, in quotes here, normality for a team as far as how they are associated with targets. I don't know how else to do other than develop this background and then start, getting deeper still. So this is part of that development process. And people say, well, where's the answers? These are the same people that want the fire and not willing to chop the firewood. And that's not how I do things. I've lectured. We're giving you a diatribe here, 8 minutes in. Here we go. Folks, if you want the fire, this is not the place you need to hang out. I'm showing you the process, okay? Because I'm trying to hopefully inspire others to do their own research and use scientific approaches and methodology. That's a hope. I mean, I realize many of you, well, I don't have time. I got it. People have families and jobs. Hey, I have some time. I'm able to do this. This is fun. I learn a lot about how to do stats and keeps me fresh on statistical analysis, how to use data sets, how to display data. Helps me be a better teacher by learning to display metrics and whatnot. So it benefits me along the way. Not only helps me in fantasy drafting make a little money here or there, because that's what we're all here to do. If you're here just for the pride or something, there's, go toss a frisbee or something. I'm here to make some money, and that's what I do. That's what drives me on this. Okay, and of course the thrill of discovery, right? Woo woo. So we're looking at 8 teams here, positional analysis and change. And again, this is a little bit of a segue from getting the question of vacated targets. So we're going to get some other question answered along the way. And so the format of my team by team, at least at this level, it's going to change, but at this level, the next 32 slides, I think I've got 8 times what? 4? So 4 lessons here. This is starting with Arizona, just alphabetical. No, there's the position, RB, tight end, wide receivers. Here's the years. Here's the number of targets. Okay. This is the the colorization showing the highs and lows in these categories. What's going on the last year? How does 2021 look versus the year before? Was there any dramatic changes here? If I look overall at the 9-year and I sum up all the targets in 9 years, this is what the position of the team does. And I'll get back to this. Here is the fairly late ADP of the drafting of some of the major players, so you can get a sense for the ADP. Here's the number, the name, the position, the team. And then here is the years, the position, the targets by a bar graph. And in this case, the green is the running backs, the tight ends are in red, and the wide receivers are purple with the blue boxes here. And there's the differences there. So what have we seen about the running backs at Arizona as far as targeting? With an exception here, look at the extreme, 142 to 68. So, that tells you probably right at 70 targets or so, right? 74 targets. So in a 9-year window, we're talking 74 are the extremes, but near the average there is probably, what is that? If we did the median, what is that? 1, 2, is close to what? 103, maybe? Something like that. About 103 or so is the median. So it's fairly stable at around 100, 103. Okay, so what happened last year? 100. But notice in 2019 it was 68, so we're talking 103, I guess, last year. I'm sorry, so 103 versus 100 versus 68. So the last 3 years we've had some dramatic changes in 2019, but the last 2 years it's been fairly steady. Only 3 years, and distribution is about almost 20% of the team's targets tend to go to the running back. So 20% of the targets. And I've got some data because I asked, is 20% high or low? It's a little bit low if you compare to all running backs from all the teams over a 9-year, but it's pretty close to average. So nothing dramatic there. Tight ends, on the other hand, has been very dramatic. Last year with Ertz bringing in 39 extra targets he was earned, and pretty much a 9-year high was 108. So I expect Ertz to be getting close to that number as well. There's nothing to suspect. I will note that over the 9 years, it's been 15%, which is way low for tight ends. But last year they got much closer, and maybe even a little bit above average. So I think we see a new tight end day here for Arizona. I would not be concerned about the 9 years versus Ertz there. Ertz is at 116. Seems to me that's pretty good. If he's, he'd be a good late tight end play there. I wouldn't. If I'm taking somebody like him in my personal strategy, I would probably be doing a streaming situation, him and somebody else. But I think he's going to get you close to 100 targets, so you shouldn't, think something dramatic, right? hard to get a second year high, right? So I'm thinking, 108's about his ceiling. Okay, you know, I mean, 109, 110, well, you 110, Bush, hey, okay, you know, it is what it is. Wide receivers, on the other hand, it's been really funky. Look at 2018 was 270. Look at 2016, 410. So what is that? That's 140 target swing there between the highs and the lows. So the median then is what? What is that? About 360. So 2021 was about median, 9-year median. So it dropped 15. I'm expecting not much change. There's nothing here that I say Arizona really goes up, right? I don't think so. Historically, they've been about 65% of the show. Given that tight ends with Ertz maybe getting more of that, we might predict 65 is a little high, maybe closer to 60 than maybe 20, 20, and 60. So I'm not thinking something really dramatic for Arizona there for 2022. I guess right now the data, nothing here is saying there's a big issue. As far as targets, they did, you know, Hopkins is going to be suspended. They did get Marquise Brown, so he should be benefit and be getting a lot of targets. There'll probably be a 1A, 1B scenario. I don't know about Rondale Moore. I'm not excited about him. He's definitely a late play here. Connor is probably going to be involved in targeting. Darrell Williams as well. Not sure it's going to be anything more than what we saw last year. So I'm not expecting. The only big changes I think is Ertz is going to stay what he was last year. I don't think he'll decline much here. I think, you know, he set that bar, and we're going to get at least 100 targets out of him. If you look at, again, the running backs here in green, and we hit the low, and I think we're going to be about, like I said, about median, about where we'll get for 2022. Wide receivers also dropped down, and now we kind of declined a little bit, and the tight ends hit a 9-year high. So I think we'll see a 20%, 20%, 60 kind of show here. So nothing dramatic, nothing here in the ADP says, you know, anything is like, wow, this is pretty low. I mean, Marquise Brown may do better than a 78 just because Hopkins is going to be suspended. That may be a little bit of a gift. I'm not seeking him, but if he drops into my lap, then I will, you know, take him at a 2-3 kind of wide receiver thing here. I'm probably not taking Hopkins as the 1 this year. Probably more of a 2 type. And let's see. Okay. Atlanta. Now, Atlanta, if you look, did something really interesting. Check out 2020, 21. Look at the differences. Cordell Patterson really turned it up. Look at that, 146, second best in 9 years for targets. Matt Ryan really peppered his running backs there. Look at having Hurst and Pitts, 157 targets. That is a 9-year high. And look at the 251 wide receiver. Look at that decline, minus 140. That's the worst we've seen and Calvin Ridley didn't play. So there's a vacated target situation for sure I will investigate. But in this case, other wide receivers probably didn't benefit too much. It looks to me like the tight ends and the running backs, in the case of Atlanta, actually benefited from Ridley not there. So maybe the vacated targets went to other positions. I don't know. There's kind of an interesting case study there. So with the running backs, they've been about 20% and looked really good last year. That's pretty damn high. And if you look at the median is about 117. So we were way above median. And one wants to think there's we probably, with quarterback change, a decline. So I could see a decline in the targeting of the running backs here. I think we're going to see a decline. Pitts probably is going to decline. I don't see how having Hurst not there is somehow going to make Pitts go more and more. I think what might happen to smooth him out was maybe he'll get some more touchdowns. I don't think he got, but one last year? So I think the RB and tight ends will decline. So is Ridley suspended? I think he is. So it is very possible that Drake London, look at that, Ridley's 109, Drake London, I'm looking at the ADPs, 126. So the argument would be that London would be the lead dog with, say, Zacharias or somebody being the second one. So I could see those two doing okay because you don't think we'll hit another low. The median here for that would be, what is that? Let's see, that would be, wow, that's a 370 something, so almost 120. I don't know if plus 120 is that. It's hard to imagine that happening here, but it could. And so one could see a scenario where until Ridley gets back, I guess I don't know how many games he's suspended, but I think Drake London might be a surprise this year. At 126, he's definitely worth a grab as a 3. Oh, yeah. Seeing how I'm reading all this, yeah, I would definitely do that. And here's the wide receiver. Look at the purple band. It's a 9-year low here. You got to think in 2022 it's somewhere in here. Okay, so that means that London Zacharias might even be a great wide receiver 6 grab as well. Late, he almost a free square. I think people may be giving Pitts more targets. I think if he can just get some touchdowns, he'll probably satisfy people with fantasy points, but it's hard to imagine he's going to get so much of this 157. It's I don't know. We'll have to get a little deeper into that. So that's what it looks like to me when I look at Atlanta there. Baltimore, 2021, the running backs have been really sucky since 2018, and 2021 was the same as far as targeting. They have not had pass catchers in 4 years. It is hard to imagine Dobbins, Edwards, or Davis, even though he is a pass catcher, is going to somehow get that close to 119. I mean, I guess 87's not, but if the 2022 goes up from 87 close to the median there, then Davis may be a great late play there. It's hard to guess on these two what's going to happen. The public really says Dobbins crushes this, uh, but I mean, looks to me like Edwards and Davis would be two people that I might get in a zero RB, some late plays that could get some pass catching activity in PPR. So that's how I see it. Andrews 172, 181, 172. Yeah, I think he has. I think it is clear that Baltimore loves its tight ends, and they've historically got 26%. Seems to me that seems real, and I think Andrews is probably, it's not like he's going to get more, but I think he'll deliver what you think he's going to deliver. It's just if you're expecting him to give you more, I don't know, assuming he doesn't get hurt. The wide receivers really, really increased. And historically, they've been at 54%. So one wonders if the, Bateman, it just doesn't sound like a wide receiver one type here. I'm curious how this is all going to go because Marquise Brown really inherited a lot of those targets. So the vacated target situation is going to be really apparent for 2022 as for us to guess what's going to happen with Baltimore here. This is a really interesting case study developing. Certainly we'll, of course, know next year what happened, but it's Bateman. It's hard for me to imagine him being a strong, 1, 2 even. He seems more of a 2, 3, maybe a 3 type to me, but maybe he'll be a 2. But there's it's one of these things like there's, where's those, targets go? It's the vacated target question. And I think the simple answer is, well, Bateman's going to get a lot of them. Is that true? It almost plays like the running backs might actually increase. So if we look at it that way, then the scenarios, Davis and Edwards collect more than the public's thinking, and maybe they're the beneficiaries of the vacated targets. You see, you got two hypotheses there. I don't know what is going on with there. I know that they got Davis in, and, at one point he was able to get a lot of plays out of the backfield. So, and Edwards is pretty spry. I could see that as a scenario as well, like some of these so-called targets split here. It's like it's hard to think Andrews has the best season he'll ever have. That's what we're talking for him, to get. I mean, we're assuming that Lamar delivers lots of targets. I don't know. I mean, he did pretty good last year. Got a lot of targets thrown to Marquise Brown. He was his play. Just don't know. Is there another wide receiver behind Bateman that is going to collect? Is he going to spread it out even deeper? Are we not finding the true beneficiaries there? I think there's some research needs to be done in the vacated target. I think we need to get even deeper on the wide receivers. But right now, it looks to me, I could see a hypothesis where Edwards and Davis collect more than we think given the ADPs. I think so. Yep. Buffalo increased 2021, 17 RBs. The Knox got 21 more. Well, I don't know if it was not, but He got a lot of those, 17 more. So really, if you look, they only increased by 50. And the wide receivers just did a nine-year high there. So I would expect it's not a lot of growth there. Knox, 88. It's hard to imagine he's going to increase even more. But he might get some. I guess if we look, they got James Cook. I guess he could benefit from pass catching out of the backfield, and maybe that's the surprise there. Notice him and Singletary are kind of very, only 30 ADP points. That's about, 2 rounds apart. So is Cook the one you want? He may be a good 0 RB play there. Historically, it's been about 20%, 20%, 60. That's kind of a normal kind of breakdown, and I've not seen anything here that says that's going to change a lot. Diggs should get his. Having some personnel changes, they think, Davis collects the second most. To me, Crowder at 206 is a free square, and he's a good WR5, a free square to me. And I'm taking him in my best ball and, deep benches all day long in a PPR. I don't know if Davis is worth an 89. I think Diggs is going to give us what Diggs does. It's hard to think he won't. So he feels like, I think we know who he is. He's a WR1, no surprise. I think Allen's going to do his thing. Cook is the unknown. How many of these targets will he collect? I think Knox is definitely going to continue what he does. But if I took Knox again, I'm probably doing a streaming kind of thing, because Buffalo has not shown any kind of thing to where they really want to feature their tight ends in the last 3 years. 2018 was dramatic, and 2017 pretty good as well. But the median here is about 97. So if Knox gets 10 more, is that something? But, I just don't see a big ceiling for him increasing this year. I think he's priced probably pretty good, about where he needs to be. I wouldn't reach to take him at all. Okay, Carolina. Lots of things happening in Carolina. New quarterbacks flying in. Who knows what's happening. Last year, CMC was hurt, but they only dropped 13 targets from last year, and a 9-year was 20%, but that's really suspicious, because when CMC was on fire, he was delivering much higher, double that. So he's probably at 25%. And, he just didn't get a lot of that. So I'm thinking 101 is safe for that, and it wouldn't surprise me to see plus 20 or more if he has a more healthy season. The tight ends last year were plus 78, because 2020 was just, they forgot about the tight end. But 2021, historically, Carolina used to love their tight ends, but that, I think in recent years, that's not the case anymore. And I think, we're talking about 120, about median, 121. That seems pretty aggressive. I'm not sure what tight end would get. I would be it wouldn't surprise me we see a decrease in tight ends. I just don't see a body there to collect. Now, with that said, Mayfield did deliver to his tight ends, so maybe we should look in a tight end premium league. Maybe there's a surprise tight end. I would look long and hard there, but it's not something I'm seeking. But if something drops in my lap late in a best ball, okay. Wide receivers are where it's at. 250 was dramatic. In the last 2 years, it's been all passing all the time to the wide receivers. And Moore really collected, and he's at 55. He could have a better season than he did. Anderson next, but it's like they forgot about him. I think that's a free square right there. I think he's a good 3-4 type and is worth your play late in a deep league. And maybe Marshall, the rookie that disappointed last year. I know he's not on here because he's going later still. Maybe he's the surprise. But 350 targets, that's a lot of damn targets. And it is hard to say that CMC has a healthy, 17 games or whatever, 16 games, and he collects. But I think if you're betting, I would think Anderson and Marshall might be some deep plays here. And it depends on how, if Mayfield gets the call, how all that works. Dante Foreman could also be surprising there and collecting targets. Chuba just really didn't deliver like we want him to when CMC was gone. If we can get back to 155, then that would probably, one might think that the distribution would leave from the tight ends. And, think about it. If you take about 20 from the tight ends, 20 from the wide receivers, and give the CMC best case, then Moore still gets his, and Anderson and Marshall get more than people think. So I think they could be a bargain. Foreman could be a zero RB hero, best ball hero as well, especially if CMC's injured. He could surprise people. So he's somebody I'm targeting in best ball late as well. Okay. What else? Yeah, I think this is 28% tight end is not what we've had anymore. I think that's going to be closer to 20%. I think this is going to go up. Shh. My guard dog's guarding. Okay, Chicago. Let's see, 2021 difference there. Looks like we dropped 72 total, and everybody dropped. RBs, tight ends, wide receivers. Justin Fields, I wonder. 91 targets for running backs. So David Montgomery was injured a little bit. The median is, what is it, about 113. So one might say that there could be 20 extra targets this year for Montgomery or Carey or I forgot who else is there. Anyway, I think Carey is, that's a low for a, hey, Thorne, Hubert, quit. Okay. So, Kmet, everybody's thinking Kmet. Kmet did have a pretty good last 2 years or 1 year, 127. It's about 20, 20, and 60. It's a little change there. 308 for the running backs. I'm sorry, wide receivers. That's what is that? Is that close to 320? Is close to median there. So that's, it looks like if some of these get back to median a little bit, that the Kmet will drop a little, and the wide receivers and the running backs will go up a little. It's hard to imagine dramatic changes in this team here. I know Robinson's gone, but he didn't make a great, gigantic impact last year. Mooney, I think, actually surprised everybody. 71 is his ADP. That seems fairly good there. And I think there's probably some deeper ones that should be looked at as well. But we're not talking a significant amount up, but I think we're closer to the 320, so about, say, plus 20. Kmet down a little, running backs up a little. So I don't see a lot. And again, when people say vacated targets, if you're talking 20 targets here, there, what does that really mean? It doesn't seem to move the needle for me a little bit. Does it to me here? Kmet, 154, and if that's based on last year and he might drop a little, I wouldn't reach for him. He would definitely be a streaming type for me. The only thing that interests me is Carey as a handcuff for Montgomery, who did have some injury issues. Montgomery at 26, that seems probably fair. I won't reach for him, but I won't turn him down either. He's a solid RB2, I think, this year. And, I guess if things break right, he could be close to a low RB1. It's just hard to imagine, but I don't see anything dramatically going on here in Chicago. Just not seeing Fields taking that much one way or the other, changing things. Cincinnati, Burrow at 54. That seems a little overpriced. He was pretty inconsistent. I did some consistency information and podcasts, and I was a little worried about what I saw with him. So let's see what happened last year. Minus 26 overall. Nothing really dramatic. The tight ends went up 11. The other ones decreased. The wide receivers went down 33. I'm not sure people would think about that. It's like with Chase and Higgins, debating which one is dominant to the other. Last year they dropped 30 targets. And last 3 years have been great. So we're assuming 340 was the median. So we're assuming that they're going to actually keep around 360 or so. So 63% seems elevated, and I think those are Chase and Higgins are solid at what they are. I think their ADPs are priced in nice. I don't think Higgins is going to be dominant to Chase. Maybe he's a little closer, but I don't know how much of a bargain. I think Boyd's your bargain, if you ask me, because I think he's great injury handcuff. That's who I would be taking, especially if I drafted Chase or Higgins. But I'm not sure targets are telling me anything dramatic there. The tight end is Hurst. Did they get Hurst? They've been about 17% historically, and just really haven't. Burrow hasn't really focused on the tight end. I guess I'm just not enamored with the tight end at all. So I think I'll let others grab that. I think Mixon is going to be what Mixon is. P. Ryan at 201 is probably a nice handcuff play, and he's almost free square. And I think he has more value than that. So I would definitely be looking to acquire him, on my best ball and maybe even zero RB type teams here. I'm not scared of Mixon, but, I'm not reaching for him either. So there you go. Last team. Uh, Not going so much over the metrics, by the way, because I figured by now, if you're still with me, thank you for listening for 45 minutes. Oh my God. And your attention span's gone, I know. So if we had face-to-face class, I'd have to throw some erasers in the back of the room to wake people up. But anyway, that's just the way it is. Cleveland went up 81 with the wide receivers really taking an uptick, even though 300 was a pretty low number. If we look at the median here, what is that? 329, so about 30 below. So 2020 was so crappy. Mayfield couldn't do any worse than 249. So 300. And I got rid of him, so we'll see. I have no idea who's going to be the Watson, I guess, but he's probably suspended, so I don't know. It's going to be a train wreck, I think. Chubb is definitely the play there, but 103. That's pretty low. It's closer to 120, so I would think the median 120. You think there's 20 more targets, so Chubb could actually increase, and of course Hunt. It's hard to see his value being any higher right now as long as Chubb is healthy. Again, Dearness Johnson is who I'm grabbing late in best balls all day. Njoku at 182 seems to be a bargain with 142 targets last year. I mean, that's pretty flying high compared to 2019. So I do see he's a stronger play for a late tight end 1-2 type. And I think you could use him in a streaming situation. And at tight end premium, he'd be somebody I'd want to inquire. So I guess it's all on Cooper to try to move forward here. And if you think of the median, what did I say? It's about 329. So about 30 more targets. Cooper is definitely priced nice. I think he could, if they can put it together. I just think with Watson in and out, who knows? And it's just gonna. Not sure the chemistry with will Cooper get. Cooper's good, and I think next year. I think if I'm a dynasty player, he might be somebody I might try to acquire early this year in a trade, because if he doesn't do things early, people are going to be down on him. He might be underappreciated. So if I'm a dynasty play, he might be a target, especially if the train wreck of the quarterback isn't clear and things are not working. I think they'll rely on Chubb, run first, and hopefully Cooper can catch up. I think Cooper can pay off later in the season. I think he's going to disappoint early. At least I think. If I'm drafting him, that's what I'm having to think. So I don't know if at 57, if my, WR2 type, do I want somebody that can be a WR1 low type later. I think for playoffs, he might be somebody I might acquire maybe by trade more than draft. I don't know. You need to do some thinking about him there. I think it's not very clear how this is going to roll here. Njoku seems to be the only one that I think seems to be mispriced deeply, and D'Ernest Johnson deeply. And I think Hunt is probably priced well. Watson, I would not draft at 125. Cooper, I think I'll let others draft and try to trade for him. Okay. Thanks for listening. 50 minutes longer than I wanted to go. This is kind of a segue from my vacated question, because I think we have to go through this data and have this fingertip for us to get deeper about the fate of vacated targets. And it, like I said, we could be getting down to team by team, and it could not be a simple answer. I'm thinking it's not going to be simple as people want to think, and you could take advantage of the mispricing that's going to result because people are going to make assumptions and they're going to be tricked. So I'm rather to chop the wood, and we'll let the fire burn and see where the ashes end up. So thanks for listening, those that are. I'm probably ambitious going through 8 teams at a time, but I would rather go long than short on this because I like to flow through it. Okay, come back. This is Dr. Bush for The Process. Science of Fantasy Football.com. We're having fun over there. Woo woo. Check out our podcast. Best thing ever. Okay. Come follow me on Twitter, Professor Fantasy 1. Okay. It's a goofy name, but I chose that long time ago, and I don't know what I was thinking. I should have been something else. I don't know what I should have been, but that's a sucky name. But anyway, okay. Take care. Having lots of fun this summer.